Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Rotation. My name is Ashley, aka MiDNiTE. I'm here along with Kingdom Soldier. As always, let's freaking go. Another week without Icon, which makes me sad, but I'm sure he'll be back soon. Big shouts to Icon. I missed the Icon Goes Crunch section. He was, I mean, maybe hey, we could dig up some stats. We could try to fill the role, Kingdom. We got this. But
Try.
hello, thank you for tuning in. Whether you're tuning in on the RØKKR YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're listening to this podcast on somewhere you can listen to a podcast, maybe Spotify, iTunes, subscribe to the show, follow it, whatever you got to do. And this week, brand new, we are now on Twitter Spaces. Just the podcast is in more places. We're trying to take over the world. Kingdom. Yo, that's it. Hey.
What?
The Rotation Kingdom?
The rotate.
Is your name?
Oh my God.
Bro. And we take over at midnight?
Oh, I like it.
Iconic. I don't know.
It's flowing naturally out of you right now.
We have lost all of our viewers already. They're gone. All right. No, but thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And honestly, Kingdom, I went back and I watched some of the clips from the last episode, and I thought it was good. We covered a lot of cool stuff. But I'm not going to lie, man. My vibes were a little crushed, man. It just felt bad as a RØKKR fan last week to just feel so lost. And so to go into, the first qualifying weekend for Major 3 and come out undefeated in the matches we played and undefeated on the maps we played, that feels freaking amazing. So I'd love to know, Kingdom, what's the contrast in vibes from last week to this week for you within the realm of RØKKR, but also just as a whole, the CDL and how you saw everything going in the first qualifying week?
I mean, what a good weekend for the RØKKR.
Yeah, bro, we got
attach highest
go.
Slayer rating, highest hardpoint KD. Like what? The RØKKR winning map 1? And I think Standy had one of the higher S&D KDs. Or no, Standy was number 1 in hardpoint. Attach was number 1 in overall. And so just like at the end of the what an amazing weekend. And to your point, last week it was tough scenes. It was like, what's going to happen? I made some crazy takes, like they're going to change the roster before the weekend. They didn't. They stuck together in true RØKKR fashion. And it worked. The team not only I was listening to some other podcasts and stuff about what happened and what went down. And something that Asim was saying is he was like, he said the same thing basically about NYSL. It's like you can just tell when a team is just flowing on the teamwork front. And the RØKKR have always been famous for being good at S&D and having good teamwork. And I think the stars aligned this weekend, and they also said, let's also be good at hardpoint. And I think there's a lot of good things that we saw. I mean, Havok was comfortable playing his role. I think, Priest stepped up and played his role. And at the end of the weekend, we're looking at some W's. And, I was actually happy also with NYSW. That's my new name for them.
There you go.
They gave FaZe a run for their money. They didn't just take it and I like what Krim tweeted afterwards. He said, a lot of people would be like, yeah, you guys held up FaZe and you made it tough, and he's like, but not me. He's like, this is an L and we're going to learn from it and we're going to do better next time. And they won against, Boston Breach, who are like this, and so I'm looking at the standings, and it's great because you see RØKKR are now top 8. New York is still 11th, but they're on their way, they're on their way up. And so just a good overall weekend. I don't think it was to be expected, except for I did call the lag match that I really feel like the Los Angeles Gorillas, they got double 3-0'd. They got 6-0'd this weekend. They're but they did pull Big P back in. We'll
hit on that.
So I know we're going to talk about that,
but that was reactionary, but it's what you have to do, right? At this point in the season, when you're looking at where you are in the standings. I mean, this is obviously just Major 3. Shannon, are you able to show the year standings off the rip? So they have no points for Major 3. Obviously, in the year standings, they're 5th, and winning the Major 2 is extremely helpful for them. But then the Volt got nerfed, and subsequently LAG got nerfed. So that's scary. I mean, looking at this now, RØKKR was what? Were we 9th or 10th before? I think we were 10th.
Yeah, I think you were 10th.
And now we are tied for 10th, which is not great still, but we did win two matches, and we're in such close contention with basically 6th through 10th place right now. It's still a bloodbath here in the middle of the standings, but you got to look at this past weekend for RØKKR and think, hell yeah, man, back-to-back 3-0s. It does a lot for the morale as players, fans. It's super exciting.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I mentioned on the last show. It's like I really thought this was the best opportunity the RØKKR had. Like, yeah, these are not easy teams. Yeah, Lag won an event, but they got nerfed by a GA, and the LA Thieves just weren't looking consistent. I mean, they never look consistent, and so. But also, I'll just say this wasn't like teams not playing up to their potential. This was the RØKKR playing up to their potential. And I think that's what I've heard from a lot of people is like, can we Thieves could have done better, and yeah, Lag could have done better. They're on a downward spiral right now. But also the RØKKR just freaking fried. Shout out Mr. Dylan Attach, to not only show leadership, but to show leadership with, a 47 bomb, in a critical map. Like that swing map of control, and just, shutting it down and what I thought was interesting on that second Havok and Attach were ridiculous. What I thought was interesting in that second series was in that control, everybody went negative except for Attach, and they still won. And that's the kind of stuff that the New York subliners do, where on hardpoint, they're just very efficient. They die more than the other team, but they win. And I feel like the teamwork was just flowing, literally was just flowing in these series. And I look at it, Havok, and it's like, oh, he went negative, but he went negative doing the right thing on the map, and that's what's important. And my dude Attach with almost dropping 10k damage, 83 and 59, just disgusting. It's the Dylan you want to see, and that you need sometimes in order for these matches to go like they've gone. So great weekend for the RØKKR, great weekend for Call of Duty esports fans, because at the end of the day, seeing teams that are lower in the standings get wins and move up, it makes it interesting, right? It's going to be more interesting as we close out the year. So I'm looking forward to the next series of matches. Those bounty matches are going to be dope. I know we're going to talk about those. I think that's crazy. And then we're going to have another banger, with this whole FaZe versus Optic, the undefeated Optic team going up against FaZe, and for $10,000. It's going to be a banger. So yeah, next week's going to be dope.
Yeah, this next week's looking good. Major 3. I mean, this is the time of year, right? Yes, all the matches throughout the beginning of the year, and when the CDL comes back on, right, for the season, those matter because the points matter. Ultimately, the top 8 make it to champs. All the points matter. But this is where you start to get real mixy, baby, and I love to see it. One thing that I wanted to point out about this past weekend before I move on to the state of Minnesota RØKKR is, we beat LAG. I saw the day before the Optic 3-0'd them, which I correctly predicted, by the way, I'm pretty sure. Prediction queen in the house. I thought, okay, Optic's really good, so, no problem, right? LAG might bounce back because LAG is still kind of a nasty team. I know they super struggled at the Pro-Am.
Right.
Then obviously struggling against Optic. I figured they might be due for a rebound, and then RØKKR said, nope, we own LA. And so we 3-0'd them as well. And that made me think, okay, so we're back, baby. We want a hard point. Let's go. But I was still a little nervous for the LA Thieves match. I still thought that series might go the distance. I did think that we could and would win it. I think that's what I predicted. Right, Shannon?
Yeah.
I had a half heart, half head prediction last week.
Yeah, so you were worried about that match.
Yeah, I told Shannon just, be the judge. But yeah, so the moral of the story here is I thought that RØKKR would maybe have a harder time versus Thieves, and we came out and like I said, we owned LA. LA Thieves is so hot and cold. They remind me of the Florida of last year. Who knows what they're gonna do? They're deep in the mid standings bloodbath, and so yeah, it was really an impressive weekend from the guys, and something that I think the fans, the players, I mean, even it's selfishly right. Like I work for the team, but the staff, like, let's go, we're back, baby. Look at that, let's go. Hey, wait, what is this standings? We're tied for first right now, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Honestly, I mean, this is for Major 3, and I think that if I'm the RØKKR, I'm looking at this. These are the standings I'm looking at as I go into my matches. Like, I think it's time for them to feel some like T1 vibes, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's really it's time for the RØKKR to be like, yeah, like we're starting 2-0. Let's finish it off. Let's
Yeah.
I think the like what I'm aiming for is, if I'm the RØKKR, is 5-0, of course. But if you go into that phase match 4-0, like, man, like
That
winners
feels
bracket,
nice.
here we come. You know?
Right. And then we haven't been in the winners bracket all year.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And so
Yeah.
it's this upcoming weekend, especially, is the most important. And with
I
the new
agree.
roster hitting form, this is the perfect time to hit form. This weekend, we play. Who do we play? We play the Florida Mutineers and Toronto Ultra during Bounty Week. And our Bounty match is against Toronto Ultra. The battle for the North. I'll never get tired of battling for the North. I don't know about you, but it's we're looking at Florida, and we're looking at deep breath. The Florida Mutineers. Or sorry, I just said both the same teams. Florida Mutineers and Ultra.
Toronto Ultra.
Dude, did I just have an aneurysm? What the hell was that? I was
No,
okay. I was looking at two
you went
different
Toronto,
schedules,
then
bro.
Florida, then
Yes.
I think you forgot you mentioned Toronto. Like,
that's on me. That's on me. Hey man, we're all getting older here. We're getting.
dang, you guys got a bounty match and a marquee match. You got the marquee match Saturday, the bounty match on Friday.
We're headlining, baby. We're headlining. Let's go. But yeah, I mean, this match against Ultra, obviously we're tied in the standings with Ultra and Florida. This weekend's matches could decide, us leapfrogging them in the standings overall for the year, and then also really working towards getting that winner's bracket spot for Major 3, which is in Toronto on land. So, whoo. I'm nervous, Kingdom, but I believe we can do it, especially after this past weekend. I'd really love to see, as we're hitting form, how do we keep that moving? When teams start to look at what we're doing, or watch our VOD and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Do they adjust? So yeah, I think I'm nervous, bro. Look at this whole slate of matches too. Well, actually, before we move on, I want to know, what's your kind of take on the state of Minnesota RØKKR right now?
I would guess that the vibes are high, and everybody is riding the wave of wins. There's no secret sauce like winning. It adds something to players that nothing else can. Like Kim asked in the chat, like, did you see my son play COD this past weekend? It's like, I absolutely did. And I know he's happy. I know Kim is happy. The whole fam is happy. Like, this is what, like, honestly, there's no better start, right, to 2-0, shout out Kim Price in the chat. Dylan attaches mom, but like, there's no better start than 2-0. This is the perfect outcome of the past weekend. Now, 2-0 coming out of this next weekend, or 3. Is there 3 matches or 2 matches this weekend? 2. So coming out 2-0 out of this next weekend versus Toronto in Florida would be great. I think the opportunity is there. I think the Battle of the North, get that $10,000, like 2,500 each player, and like walk away happy. Sending Toronto into a spiral of wondering where they're going to start in their own. Like Minnesota had to start in the losers bracket at their own event, and I know that was not fun. And this is like the best chance that I've seen all year for Minnesota to start in the winners bracket, and that has to be the objective, because I think you get 10 points automatically if you start in the winners, at least from the event, or it might be 20. But either way, like, starting a good run for Minnesota would be, I can just feel it, that it's coming. And so I'd say the vibes, the state of the Minnesota RØKKR is we're back in form, or we're in a new form, maybe. And let's keep it up. And I honestly think, like, to your point about watching VOD, something about the Minnesota RØKKR where they don't beat you in a way where you're like going back and wondering like, what did they do? You convince yourself that you made mistakes the way the RØKKR beat you, because it's almost like sneaky, you know. Like, you think about that control, it was so back and forth and so unpredictable against the Thieves, and it was like even when Attach got his 4-piece, they lost that round, you know. And so you can't look at like, well, Dylan just went off. It's like, no, they beat you with teamwork, with good comms, with consistency, staying on the objective, staying on the grind, not letting being down 2-1 make them, you know, play worse in that 4th round. Like, I just honestly feel like this is a team that is unpredictable. And when they're winning, it's hard for any teams to stop the Minnesota RØKKR. Like what happened last year with the RØKKR reverse, I don't think anybody knew like what to do after that, you know. And so the RØKKR did well at champs as well. But I think like it's really like we can't out teamwork them, you know. So let's just try to play our game. Like, I think the RØKKR are one of those teams where teams look at them and they're like, let's just play our game and then we'll be fine. But I do think that there is some genius and some intelligence and some smart moves and smart plays from the coaching staff and from the players themselves that helps them win. And so yeah, state of the RØKKR is good. Like, straight W.
Heck yeah, bro. Well said. And one more thing I wanted to pile on there before we move on is, you know, I watched the Havok interview after, I believe, the LAG win. He had an on-air interview with CDL, and they kind of asked him like, what's the difference between the pro-am and that LAN and now, you know, this success that you just had in this match. And it's like he talked about kind of integrating into the team, feeling comfortable. He may have put a lot of pressure on him at the pro-am, and that, you know, good or bad, like that didn't get the results that he wanted or that we wanted, right? And so knowing that he was able, he now is in Minnesota, lives in Minnesota. I see him at the office every day. He's quite tall and very, very nice. And yeah, you know, getting kind of with the team, I think helps a little bit. And there's something to be said about when you start building that chemistry with a new teammate, you know, having them by your side and starting to go, I think is super helpful. So wee, dude, let's go.
I wanna respond to Velocity in the chat. It's an interesting take. You know, he said hard work beats talent. And I don't necessarily agree, but it can, you know. But I think if you can combine hard work and talent, that's a W. You know, like, it was a 47 piece from Attach, but and everybody else went negative on the team, but they were working hard, you know, and they were doing the right things and setting themselves up to win. And so it's like, I think there's a combination there that really does go far. But to his point, FaZe hasn't won an event this year, and they're one of the most talented teams I've ever seen in Call of Duty history. So hard work does pay off for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I almost, it's become like a trope. Like, we got to turn it into some kind of drinking game, or, you know, drinking the purple Kool-Aid game, where I say, this is the most competitive CDL that we've ever seen. It really is, though. It really is. When you look at from the top of the standings to the middle 100%. To the bottom, anybody can win on any given day, and that's why I love watching. And it just gets me hyped. So going into stage 3 qualifiers here, a couple other crazy things we notice. Spart benched for Gunless. So Gunless on LAG initially benched, I think it was after Major 1. Or maybe it was during Major 2. No, it was like just before Major 2 LAN, I believe, like a weekend or two before that.
Yeah.
You know, Gunless goes out. He had some health issues. I really hope he's bounced back and is feeling better. I don't know if he benched himself or how that all went, but he basically ended up on the bench. Spart comes in, and obviously we all know what happened at the RØKKR Major. Actually have blacked it out of my mind at this point, but LAG did win that LAN event here in Minnesota. Congrats again to them. And, you know, Spart comes on the scene. He's this kid from Challengers. He did play in the pros before, but never really to this level, obviously. And so when they won that event, Gunless actually ended up remaining on the bench even after recovering. Then, as we mentioned before, you mentioned that the Volk has been, is it G8 or nerfed in the game? I should probably know that, but I don't. G8, okay.
Yeah.
So the pros are like, frick, Spart, get out of here. Because Spart was using the Volk, and a lot of people attributed their success to that. So that gets G8, and that just, I'm not sure if the GA is the linchpin there for LAG just taking a turn, but they do poorly at the Pro-Am. They have just done poorly in the first week of stage 3 qualifiers. And at this point, given, how competitive the league is, like we say,
right.
They've now benched Spart and are bringing Gunless back in now that he is fully recovered. So I just Shannon has the statement on the screen here. Their statement seems to mostly imply that, Gunless is fully recovered. He's coming back. Almost, maybe I'm reading in between the lines here, Kingdom. They're kind of making it seem like this is going to happen all along. Like, do you think that if LAG was playing lights out still, that he would be coming in back into the lineup?
I do. I think that if LAG did not place top 16 at, which basically last, at the Pro-Am, and if they weren't 0-6 this weekend, let's say they were in the grand finals of the Pro-Am, let's just say they placed top 4, right? They were up there with FaZe, top 4 team. And let's say that they went 1-1 this weekend. But the one they lost was 3-2 map count. I don't think they'd bring Gunless back unless they felt that something needed to change. But when a gun being GA is an actual player, and we've seen teams have this problem in the past where something got GA'd or nerfed and it changed who was number 1 in the league. It honestly changed the roster. It changed their confidence. Spart came in with a weapon that nobody really knew about. They didn't know how to use it. It was like that perfect hybrid, weapon that you could use as a flex, but you didn't have to pick an SMG or an AR. You just run around with, that gun, and it did really well, and people tried to pick it up in that event. But then it was GA'd almost immediately in challengers and overseas, and then the CDL picked it up pretty quick. It only took them a couple of weeks. And so this team is this purple team is actually in the opposite place of the RØKKR, one of the 3 purple teams. But basically, I think Lag is in a tough spot. I think they're in a really tough spot. If I'm Slasher, it's like, dang it, man. We rose to the occasion. We won. And Slasher started all these storylines after this happened. He's like, yeah, so you don't have to be 18 and cracked. You could be 32 and consistent, And so it's like, I'm not 32.
I'm way aging out everybody. Hey, don't say you're way aging. That's how old I am.
Well, no, I'm well over that, but I'm way aging out. The oldest players in the CDL are, so I'm giving them more years than they have, And so I just think though that honestly, this team is in a position where they need to make a change. They don't have a choice because they don't want to lose their 5th place standing, and you have to do what LAT basically did last year, which is this, or you'll end up just on a steadily decline down. Because I'll tell you what, New York Subliners are coming, Minnesota RØKKR are coming, and the Toronto Ultra are coming. Those 3 teams are not going to let up on believing that they are champions, and there's no way that those organizations are not trying to make champs. Storied orgs that, NYSL's new, you guys are new, Toronto Ultra's new, all of you guys new to the CDL once it came in, not like an old team like FaZe or Optic. It's like this is a new franchise, but have all grown substantially in social presence. And let me make sure I'm right on this. Have all won a championship? Yep, that's correct.
You're god digga dang right.
So
Wait, did LAT?
No. I said NYSL, you guys, and Toronto.
Yep.
Yeah. So these 3 teams, right, all have a history of winning and can make it to the top and have some of the best players in our game. They're coming. You look at these standings, NYSL is going to have a hard road, to be honest. But if Florida falls, if Seattle can't figure their stuff out, they did a little bit better this weekend. But if they can't figure their stuff out, Paris Legion is kind of chalked. I hate to say it. It's unfortunate. I mean, but
How
2 and
dare
13
you? Weren't you
series
so
count.
happy when they won on land, though? That was amazing. That was
I felt good
amazing.
for Tampa. I'm
Yeah.
sure he felt good, but you hear their comms and they're just not on the same page, And when
Nah,
you don't have that,
they're playing for individual film
right? It's a good
or
call.
stats. I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe that's
kind of.
an unfair assessment, but
Well, you're probably not wrong, because if you're on a team this bad, you're just trying to stay in the league, right? Like, you
yep.
don't want your spot to be taken by Clayster next year or somebody else. And so you're just trying to stay in the league. And you're like, now, so if I'm John, I'm like, I just need to prove that I was brought back and I should stay in, but we're talking about 48 players, so like, you got to prove you belong. And there's some people on the outside that look really good. That substitute on the Ultra looks really, a couple of them actually, they have like 25 players, but it's
Well,
like,
yeah, they're
uh,
just collecting, bro, like they're little Pokemon.
I don't know if that's a long-term play. Like, we're going to sell all these players off in the future when you guys see how good they are. I don't know exactly, but there's also guys in the challengers that could play in the league. And those guys on Paris are just trying to keep their spot. They're not safe, except for maybe Temp, because he's played pretty consistent this year. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see here now that we're looking at the standings and kind of looking at where people are at. Apologies for the audio only listeners. I'll do a quick synopsis here. 1 through 5th is pretty far ahead, 6th through 11th, and then Paris Legion's down at the bottom in 12th. Keeping in mind, like if the season were to end today, right now, Minnesota RØKKR makes champs. We are technically top 8 with 70 CDL points. We are tied with 9th and 10th, Toronto Ultra and Florida Mutineers. And then just one match win above us is Seattle Surge and LAT. So it's getting mixy with how closely contended this is. And look at, Surge is still hanging in there, right? Like, dang, bro, they won't go away. Shout out
They're
Lamar.
not. Them and the Thieves are going to be who you guys have to pass to be safe. And like, these teams that are over 100 right now, if they can just get a couple wins and start in the winners bracket, they'll probably stay in that top 8. The leap that I think the Minnesota RØKKR need to take is over the Surge and the Thieves, which technically this weekend could happen, right? If the RØKKR win 2 and they don't win, or they only win 1, they'll be tied. And the thing I keep pointing out, and since it's still on the screen, is you look at the RØKKR's losses, is they should be in 4th. They just haven't been able to start in winners bracket and have enough opportunities to get more W's. But their losing rate is not as bad as all the teams below them or some of the teams above them. So I think being 7 and 8, like, good position for the Minnesota RØKKR. Starting in that winners bracket means more matches, more opportunities to get wins in winners and or losers if they lose up in winners. And that just has to be the goal right now, starting winners.
Yeah, starting winners, get those extra points and get the points from the qualification, right? It just makes you wonder, like, what about to be fair, during stage 1, we had a very, I would say, difficult, like, group or set of matches. It wasn't a group, but a set of matches. But you can't make that excuse, right? It was like I said last week. If you're not making top 8 in a 12-team league, you got problems. So let's do it, baby. I have the faith, especially, I know I was down last week. Bad vibes, honestly, for me. And it's turned around this week. I'm back. I'm showering in the purple Kool-Aid. I was just taking a peek at, and Shannon, you don't need to pull this up. Let's actually keep the standings up on the screen. But I was taking a peek at who the other teams around us play. So LA Thieves and Surge are going to play each other, which I would argue is good for us. We've got, who's Mutineers playing? They're also playing the Surge. So yeah, this time next week we'll have a much better snapshot of what the frick is going on here. And honestly, like, when it comes down to it, we just need a strong showing out of the guys this weekend to make sure we're getting those points, make sure we're maintaining our top 8, and like you said, getting in the winners bracket in Toronto. We're gonna bring the heat to the cold Canada. That was a bad joke. We tried. Hey, Will puts this stat in the chat. Will, shout out producer Will. We need to win 21 of the next 2. Wait, I'm sorry, I can't read. We need to win.
The one is like an accident, I guess.
Oh, I
Two
see.
of
We
the next
need to
three.
win 2 of the next 3. I'm sorry. It's
Will
one thing I
typo.
can't read, one thing Will can't type either. But we need to win 2 of the next 3. Our map win percentage is solid, and I would assume we have the tiebreakers. That is never a safe assumption. Like they say in fighting, never let the fight go to the judges. But yeah, no, I do agree though. We have Toronto, we've got Florida, we've got FaZe. We win 2 out of those 3. We're most likely in the winners bracket.
If you're 4-1, you're going winners.
Yep. And based on, I mean, CDL's done this brilliantly too. I actually kind of noticed a similar thing with the NFL schedule release recently. Like they've got a lot of the similarly seeded teams playing each other so that they're closely contested matches or games, which I think is really, that's key, baby. You want the bangers, you want the barn burners going on. So with this said, Shannon, are you able to show us the standings for Major 3 qualifiers? I know we're only 1 weekend in, everyone, but just kind of wanted to contextualize things with the overall standings and now look at how our team's doing so far. And do we see any more teams making changes, right? RØKKR brought in Havok, LAG took out Spart, put Gunless back in. Were there any other changes like recently, or do you think there's some
No, I mean
on the
New York
horizon?
Subliners ish, but I really like. So if I was looking at the series between the Boston Breach and the New York Subliners, and although Kismet had the lowest KD on the team with a 1.0, everybody went positive. This dude had 10,277 damage behind Paul X for number 1 on the team. And even though Hydra had a 1.27, went crazy, he had like the 3rd least. And so I think Kismet was a very, very good addition. And I don't know if you've seen all the drama, Clay dropping text messages and stuff like that.
I missed that.
You missed you missed some
tea.
fun. You missed some fun.
God dang it, I was doing my yard work. I have a house now, I gotta do my yard work. It's hard, dude.
So basically, this is So basically, Clay or Krim was on like the pinch, which is the miniature version of the flank, and was talking.
Pause. I'm so sorry, but who is hosting the pinch?
It's still Zuma.
Oh wait, so it's a flank of the flank?
It's like a miniature version of the flank. So it's like,
let's say
they are very genius, actually. The naming is genius. But
Bro,
let's say
amazing.
like something happens right now. Like let's say Doug Sensor Martin is going to be on Optic Gaming in place of Pro Loot,
it's like an emergency podcast. Can't play.
Yes. So it's the pinch. They'll do the emergency flank sometimes where they do a full episode, but the pinch is like a planned like. So anyway, he's on the pinch. And he just decides he's going to talk about everything. What happened? The whole roster change. What happened with Clay? Because Clay's been talking on the timeline. And he says that Clayster was the chief, like, complainant, I guess, because they all stopped doing their job at one point. The whole team. Because Neptune didn't play well. And he kind of revealed that, which was unfortunate. Said he couldn't throw grenades to save his life. And so they just, like, all checked out. They weren't reviewing VOD after scrims. Like, it got bad. And then Clay would always still be like yelling and screaming. And he said Hydra rage quit. Clayster said this. Hydra rage quit almost the entire team in the middle of a scrim. He got up and said he's going to buy a ticket and go back to France or whatever. That never happened. And so when they had to decide what to do, basically Krim said he had of course he's not going to vote for himself to be off the team. Right. And so then when Clay is the decision maker of being off, and Clay revealed a tweet or a text that he had between him and Hydra, where Hydra was saying like, hey, I was 50-50. I wasn't the deciding like vote on what is going to happen here. Neptune just didn't work with Krim or Clay. He couldn't, he's too, I'll say immature, but I don't mean like, immature, like, he does stupid stuff. I mean, he just needs to grow up a little bit, and Asum was even agreeing with all this that Krim was saying. So Clay decides, I'm going to jump in the chat and start calling Krim a liar and all this. And so it got all crazy.
This is CDL's like Jerry Springer, dude. Sorry if you're too young for that reference, but dude, that's buck wild, man.
Yeah. So then they end up on the timeline.
And called him a liar?
Yeah, he said this is just
Oh,
not true. Then he starts showing images of his text with Paco, where he's like, the last time I talked to Paco was on March 16th when I got dropped, and all this kind of stuff. Because basically, Krim was saying Clay sent a picture of himself flipping off his middle finger or flipping off Paco and laughing at him when they lost Major 2 or whatever, when they played so horribly. So, which Krim was like, I would do the same thing. He's like, I don't know why Clay is trying to say he didn't do this. Like, I would do the same thing. So basically, lots of drama. Clay's also saying he's basically not going to be on a team this year. But he is playing challengers, which is great. We'll see how that goes, because he's going to be at the LAN event in Toronto, because they're having a like combined challengers deal or whatever. And so, or I think that might be the Boston one. I don't remember. But
yeah, it'll be the
basically,
Boston, like the challengers in Boston, and the LAN event for CDL is in New York. Wait, what's the most New York way to say New York?
New York.
Yeah, yeah. What Kingdom said. New York. So, bro, I'm embarrassing.
You did
I'm
it well.
proud.
You did
I'm
it well.
proud.
You should, yeah. So anyway, it was a lot of drama.
That's crazy.
That New York subliners drama, there's probably 3 videos that Zuma uploaded on it. That New York subliners drama, I think, is going to carry throughout the year. The one thing I will say, though, I listened to Asim, who was a guest on the pinch, basically agree with Krim. He disagreed with him a good amount. But one of the things he said is he was like, dude, you are the winningest Call of Duty player of all time. Because he was saying that Neptune was telling Clay that Krim doesn't know how to win. And it was like, Krim's like,
What?
excuse me?
Hold
I have
my
more
beer?
chips than anyone else. Like,
Yeah, what?
so it was like, it was great to hear Asim. Asim is a humble, like, I can see
I
why he's
love
a
that
good
kid.
player.
He's
Yeah,
great. Sim is
he's like, yell at
amazing.
me. I don't care. I'm just going to soak it all up and do my thing. He was mad when Clay left them, but he would have still kept playing even though Clay was yelling and chirping and all that. Like, Asim is very mature when it comes to like being able to deal with difficult leaders. And he was like, you can lead people by the carrot or by the stick, is what Asim said. And he said, Krim is a stick leader. He's going to beat you and tell you what you're doing wrong repeatedly until you do it right. And that's just, if you can't handle that, you can't handle it. So I think this team went for Kismet because Royalty wasn't working for that system, but Kismet does. And that's kind of what I was going to say, is that those teams, you guys, picking up Havok, again, same type of deal. He works with the system that the RØKKR have built. And I think that that is the future of some of these CDL franchises, is not finding somebody who said talent over hard work earlier, or hard work over talent. That's true, because you can find the best talent, but look at FaZe. They can't win a tournament, and I'm not saying they're not going to, right? They're FaZe. They'll probably figure it out. But a lot of these teams are learning, like, wait, we just need somebody who's willing to follow our system. Like, Attach wants to play a certain way, and look what happens when you let Attach play a certain way, right? Like, when you put the right pieces around him, it's going to work for everybody. Scump has always been that guy. You put the right people around Scump, and Optic will succeed, period. Because you keep that guy happy and frying, he's going to be yelling in everybody else's ears. He's going to be, pooping on people and throwing up choke signs and whatever else. And you need that to win, and on Optic to get that gas. And so I think that NYSL is in a really good position. I think Minnesota RØKKR are in a really good position, and I think Toronto Ultra are getting their vibes back. I think they're getting their juice back, and it's going to be interesting who makes it into the top 8, because one of the 3 probably won't, and that's scary to think about.
Yeah, it honestly is, and I honestly hope the frick not that Toronto gets in their vibe and starts to improve, because that is Minnesota RØKKR's next match. Let's do predictions, Kingdom. Let's get into this. Actually, I don't want to, like, you just had an amazing monologue. I do want to say I agree with everything you said. I think it's all about the system, and it's like this in other sports too, right? Like, think of the NBA, especially. I think is pretty terrible because it's 5 people. But it's, you have your star and you put pieces around them that complement it. And if you're lucky, you can have 2. And then you put the pieces around that, and that's how you do the thing.
LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo are all out of the playoffs, and we're at the conference finals, and all 3 of them are out of the playoffs. But Jimmy Butler and his team are in the playoffs. It's like you have like Steph Curry in there, that's the only like recognized megastar still in there, and then you've got a bunch of teams that have good players, great players that have been all-stars, but it's not LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and in the past, you had to be on a super team or on LeBron's team to make it to the finals. That was like for the last 15 years, that's been the truth. And the game is starting to change. And so I agree with you. That's a good analogy. And I think COD's been heading the same direction for a while. I think the Minnesota RØKKR and the Toronto Ultra both were ahead of the curve last year, like really trying to like develop core teamwork as the most important thing on a team. And really, and I don't know if the RØKKR would agree with this, but I'll say that it seems like there's some teams that have made raw gun skill secondary to teamwork. And I think it's paying off.
Yeah, it's always been the debate in Call of Duty, right? Is do you get the cracked kid who can shoot straight, or do you find the person who maybe doesn't have as good of stats, but really meshes with the team? And there's extreme benefits to both, and when you can find that perfect balance, you might just go 6-0 in the opening qualifying weekend for Major 3. So looking ahead from that into weekend 2, we're going to deep dive the RØKKR matches. We're going to deep dive one match a day. And we're going to be kind of quick with the other predictions here so we can get to fan questions. Woo! Let's start producer Shannon, bro. She ain't asleep at the wheel. She pulls it up, bro. Let's go. I was just looking at my other screen, but then she pulled it up. Let's go, baby. Boston Breach versus London Royal Ravens. I did actually read in the chat, God, where was it? Who got brought in here on Ravens? I think they brought back Harry. You're shaking your head. No or yes?
Harry?
Yeah. Harry. I don't know.
So honestly,
Prince Harry, like the
I need to
playing?
I'll be blatantly honest. The Ravens, I actually want to go look at their.
Damn, we're about to deep dive Boston Breach versus Ravens. God dang it. Nah, I'm just going to make a prediction, man. All right,
go
Breach.
ahead. I'm going to look at.
Yeah, you look. Yeah, producer Shannon. There is Ravens benching Gizmo for Harry. That makes sense. No offense to Gizmo. I think Harry, I forget why he wasn't playing. I think he had a personal matter. So he's back in the lineup. That could give him some life. Breach has not been Breach we all know and love, but that doesn't mean that they're not Breach. So I'd say I'm going to go ahead and predict Boston Breach here. They're going to take it to him, man. I don't think Harry's going to have it. I think it's 3-0 Breach. I know that's a little aggressive, coming out hot, but that's my prediction.
I'm going to say 3-1. I do think London has lost a step, and Boston Breach having that, bounty up for grabs. I feel like they're going to play for it. I did hear an interesting commentary on the Boston Breach recently that said when Methods was frying out of his mind with literally like the best AR on the game for a couple of weeks, you couldn't stop this team. They looked disgusting and unstoppable. And it made Capsule and Nero just turn up and go off. Now things have changed a little bit and they're now like level set. The good thing is they use that great Methods time to boost themselves up in the standings, and they'll probably make champs off of that, as long as they don't just take a whole bunch of L's on their way out. But I do think that they're better than London Royal Ravens, which was another one of our best teams early on in the season. And so they've been trying different roles, moving Zero to a sub and all. Like, they're going to have to figure it out. It's going to take time. Hopefully they do before champs, because they'll probably make it based on their early season success in stage 1 and 2. But I do think Boston's going to take this 3-1.
Well said. Minnesota RØKKR, Toronto Ultra, the bounty game, man. We got a bounty game, $10,000 to the winning team. This isn't the only bounty game. There are others like the one we just talked about. But Minnesota RØKKR, Toronto Ultra, battle for the place in the standings, battle for the North, battle for the 10 bands. Whatever you want to call it. This one's so important. And one thing that, I do love about this team is when we're feeling ourselves and we get put into these difficult situations, we don't crumble. And Toronto Ultra this year so far has been not the Toronto Ultra that we know from last season, right? And they have the same players. So interestingly, they haven't made any kind of changes over on Ultra. They're seeming to get the hang of it a little bit. But for my sanity, the standing sanity, and just the guys getting some extra cash in their pockets, I'm going to predict RØKKR to win here. And I got them taking it 3-1. We might just keep this hardpoint thing going. What do you think?
That would be dope. I'm going to say 3-2. I think Toronto might win the control. And maybe the second hard point, maybe the search. I know RØKKR's good, but Toronto have really good teamwork on search as well. Insight is one of the clutchest players we have in S&D.
Nasty.
I ever since they all got COVID 1 week at a time, which was the craziest, suckiest thing a team could ever have. Is like one guy gets COVID, they sub him out, and then another guy gets COVID the next week, and then another guy gets COVID the next week, and another guy gets, like, for a month, they all just went through COVID, and it teamed drastically. And I think they're finally recovering, but I still think Minnesota's going to take it 3-2.
Hell yeah, Kingdom. Plus, we just need to win it. I'm putting the vibes out there. Speaking of putting the vibes out there, we got Florida Mutineers versus LAG, another bounty match. LAG has been looking not well. They're unwell. But bringing Big P back into the lineup for Spart, Florida Mutineers, you never know what you're going to get with them. And honestly, I do think it's very possible that Florida Mutineers will win this, but I'm speaking it into existence. We need Florida to lose. Let's go, LAG. Let's go, Asim. You guys got this. 3-2, I believe.
This is the most unpredictable match of the weekend. We have two teams that just, I mean, Florida, I think since the CDL started, they've been good when they're great, or great when they're good, and mediocre when they're not good. Like, it's so hard to predict this team. There's just not a lot of consistency at all. And then with LAG bringing back Big P, like, how's that going to go? I don't know. So I'm just going to say, okay, you said you want the lag to lose, right?
Nah, I want LAG to win so that Florida loses. So
Okay.
we get more points than them.
I think there's a weird play here where realistically the RØKKR could get up to 115 points before the season's over.
Oh, so you're saying play the long game. Like, maybe Florida wins this one, but they shit the bed all the other ones, and then we're overtaking LAG and going
because
into
Minnesota
the
plays Florida on Saturday. So
yeah,
so like, yeah, LAG. That's when, like, if I'm the RØKKR, I definitely want to leap Seattle and Los Angeles, but I also would want to just try to get over lag if possible. Like, and I mean, we're talking about 40 points. That's 3 wins. Like, it's possible. Right?
You make it to winners bracket. I mean,
yeah,
you're right
chalk.
there.
If they go to losers and RØKKR goes to winners, it's easily possible that
LAG is on the fast track to losers right now at 0-2. Dude, I think you're right. Honestly, now I don't know what. I'm going to stick with my prediction. I do think
Florida,
LAG
for me,
could win this.
I'm going Florida 3-1. I think LAG is going to need more than one match to get it together. They'll beat Paris on Sunday.
Yo, what? I can't wait to watch this match and see how our predictions play out. Dude, what the heck? This is going to be awesome. I respect it. All right, another money match here. 10K on the line. Paris Baguettes versus the New York Slices. I'm sorry. I just had to do a food with the city thing. This is embarrassing for me. Listen, 3-0 subliners.
Easy.
I don't care how dysfunctional they are. I don't care how many texts get leaked. They're probably going to beat Paris 3-0 and get an extra chunk of change.
Not even going to lie. New York subliners, in my opinion, right now are playing in a top 4 form.
Damn.
That's how they look. They lost to FaZe, and they kept it close. And they played really well at the Pro-Am. They got another win this weekend. I really just think New York is on a run. And when you get a confident Crim, you got to watch out. So I'm going to say 3-0. I agree with you. Hot 3-0 even.
Crim with a full head of steam is terrifying. Also, big shout out to the chat who's predicted alongside us. Look, man, we've got about half as many likes as we've got viewers in the stream. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tell your mom about RØKKR. Let's get her in some merch. Come on now. Appreciate the support. Let's go. All right, next match. LA Thieves versus Seattle Surge. Another money match. I mean, all the matches are basically money matches, but let's go on with it. LA Thieves versus Surge. This one, I mean, technically, if we're looking at the standings, I think we want Surge to lose, but kind of on the same wavelength of what you were talking about with Florida LAG. I think you kind of want, you want Surge.
Well, they're both right above you guys, so it's like you basically want either one of them to lose. Like, it's just like,
I hope everyone loses except RØKKR is my stance here. But yeah, so my prediction, LA Thieves versus Seattle Surge. LA Thieves did not look okay this past weekend, and they're due for a bounce back. But you know who's really hard to bounce back against? Lamar, the Iceman. Maybe I'm a fangirl, maybe whatever. But ever since forever he's been around, he's just strong. I think Seattle Surge is still hanging in there. So I'm gonna go. I don't know. It's not considered an upset, but I've got Surge 3-2. LA Thieves is not going to be able to close this out.
Yeah, that one's not an upset in my opinion. They're right next to each other in the standings. But
Yeah.
I would say
I was
that,
just like you last week. I was just
know
making
I was
stuff
trying,
up.
man. I was trying. I wanted those New York points. If they beat FaZe, I would have been crying for it. I got excited when they won map 1. I literally was like, oh, they're gonna do this.
Dude,
then they went up in the
thought of you
search,
when
and
they
I was
won
like,
map 1, and I was like, this is gonna be a thing.
oh yeah, I was so excited to talk about it. I was like, ooh, the rotation on Tuesday. Like, man, I get to talk about New York beating FaZe. Anyway, this is a battle of two teams that Minnesota needs to pass in standings. LA Thieves took it on the chin to the RØKKR. They're probably itching for a W. Seattle Surge, they won one, lost one, but they beat Paris. So they got to do better than that. I'm gonna say LAT is gonna squeak out a W here. Definitely gonna go the distance 3-2.
Nice, man. Eye to eye 3-2s, but different winners. Love that. RØKKR versus Florida. It sounds very dramatic to be like must win match, but this is the marquee match for a reason on Saturday. Florida, we need these points. It's not personal. I hope you go death roll like a gator into the night, but RØKKR needs to take this one 3. Oh, I'm going crazy, bro. I'm drinking the purple Kool-Aid, dude. It's delusional and I don't care. The guys can do it and make a statement.
This is a match they can 3-0 in my opinion. Marquee match, and why does it matter? Because RØKKR play FaZe after this, and I think whether they win or lose against Ultra, this match is going to be a big one. Like, it's going to matter because they're either going to go into FaZe 3-1 and potentially be 3-2, and we know what happens when the RØKKR 3-2. It somehow never works out in their favor. Or they're going to go into FaZe up 4-0, and it's going to be like, we made winners bracket, let's go. And so I think this win, no matter what, is whether they win or lose against the Ultra, this is going to be a hugely important W. Because you don't want to go into phase 2-2 and have to win to get a 3-2, So I'm going to say the RØKKR are going to win this, though. I think they're the better team. They showed that this weekend. 3.
And we all know what happens when FaZe starts to really warm up, rev it up, and turn it on. I got FaZe 3-1 here versus Boston Breach.
I'm going to say FaZe 3-0, to be honest. I think everything you said is why. They're good villains online. They're bad villains on LAN. I think the reason they're losing on LAN is because everybody's booing them and they're just bad guys all the time. And some people just can't deal with that, and so, but I think online it's shocked for most teams. And so I'm going to say 3-0 to FaZe. They're coming out swinging.
Word. They are the Fry guys. Going into Sunday here, Paris Legion versus LAG. Come on, Legion, give us an upset here. That would be nice.
Ooh,
I don't think it's going to happen,
actually.
though. As much as I like to try to will wins into existence with my predictions, I just don't think I got the juice for this one here. I think, I think LAG, they're going to bounce back after this past weekend, and I think, knowing that Paris is on Sunday is going to help that. I got LAG. I'll give Paris a map. I'll say LAG 3-1.
I'm going to say LAG 3-1 as well. I think they'll have a little mini honeymoon when Gunless comes back. But I'm going to say they're going to need the Florida match to get warmed up and get him back in the flow of things with the pressure of a real match. And then, yeah, I'm going to say 3-1 lag. Poor Paris. If lag loses that match and the Mutineers match,
they might self-destruct. They might pick think up about Clay. They might do some crazy.
Hey, you might be right. They might trade Gunless for Clay or something. They're gonna think about doing something because they're gonna want to make sure they don't lose out of champs.
Could you imagine Slasher and Clay, bro? It would be terrifying. There is no shot that team.
That's like that's like Aches and Scump on the same team. you know?
Yeah,
Like,
it just
it's
is not
never gonna happen.
never gonna happen. Hey, never say never. I've seen some pretty crazy combos here. But yeah, that one's it's just too aggressive leaders with ARs, terrifying. Make them 1v1 for the leadership
That would be
role.
awesome.
Looking here at Optic. Wait, did you make it? Yeah, you made your prediction.
Yep.
Optic Texas versus FaZe Atlanta. Marquee match, money match, last money match of the weekend. They saved the bag for this one. I love it. Dude, I know we were just talking up FaZe, and it's so hard for me to have to spin on a dime on my own takes and be like, yeah, Atlanta's revving up. It's gonna be scary. Dude, you know who's really scary right now? Optic. You do not want to mess with them. I'm going to predict 3-2 Optic, and I'm actually going to take Shannon. Give me some extra points for this. 2-4-5 are the maps that Optic win right there.
So this is going to be a barn burner. This is going to be the most viewed match of the weekend. I think the bounty should be $20,000 or something. Like this is going to be a huge match. It's marquee for a reason. Featured player. I'm going to call that out. It's going to be one of my predictions. The featured player, game field featured player is going to be Shotzi. No, Dashy. It's going to be Dashy.
You think I would go with Shotzi? Yeah. You're going to pick Dashy's
Dashy's been playing out of him and Shotzi both. Like, I can't believe
both of them
on the
are
same
nuts.
team.
And I think they just had Dashy as a marquee guy. Maybe they switch it around.
You might be right.
Or
but they're still playing with ProLoot, aren't they? They're not playing with Elite still.
Ooh. I don't know. How long is that lasting? Is that like confirmed?
Well, they said they want him to be fully healed, is what they're saying. I think, and I'm just going to say it, they're playing the mind games. I don't know if they're going to let FaZe play their full roster. The last time they played FaZe, they subbed somebody in and beat them. They made
that sounds like a Rambo Ray type of move. That really does. That makes sense.
Rambo's like Coach Popovich. You know, he's going to be around for a long time. He's got these like, you know, super brainy moves. And remember, I was telling you earlier in the year, like FaZe and Optic weren't playing each other. They did it again. Illy played a match at the Pro-Am. Then they benched him for the rest of it and put General in. And General played against FaZe and they beat FaZe. If ProLoot can play right here, then I'm not going to say it's going to be a 3-1, which I was going to say. I was going to go against your prediction. ProLoot's playing amazing. Shout out Velocity in the chat. Oh, this is hard. They beat FaZe with a sub a couple weeks ago. I'm saying they're going to do it again. I'm going to go with your 3-2 though, because with a sub in there, I don't think they're going to 3-0 or 3-1 them, which I was going to predict. But I think they are the kryptonite for Atlanta FaZe. And that is going to be one of the best storylines of the year if it stays. I'm going to love it because when they meet at Champs, it's just going to be like magical. Like,
dude, it's such a classic, bro.
Yeah.
Optic versus FaZe. Even back to like the days before both teams had competitive teams, it was Optic versus FaZe on YouTube as well. And it's just it's really cool to see it continue. Speaking of continuing on here, last match of the weekend, Subliners versus Ultra. Listen, let's go, Subliners. We need you to beat Ultra. As a RØKKR fan, I need Subliners to win. But I also do think that Subliners will beat Ultra here. I think, I'm Kingdom, you're talking me into it. I don't have Icon here to kind of level me out a little bit. I'm kind of buying into the NYSW, as you say.
Let's
I'm
go.
Kind of buying into it. I think they're gonna perform this weekend. They get a, get going against Paris Legion, and then they get to take on Toronto Ultra last match of the weekend. So I got Subliners 3-1 here. We need that to happen, and so I'm manifesting that. What do you think?
Wow, I love that you're falling into the NYSW. I do want to say Will DuPont with the crazy take in the chat. Let's see if it happens.
What did he say?
We should give Will some points. He said, wouldn't it be crazy if Pristini was put in for FaZe? So they both played with subs.
Yo.
That would be very interesting, I'll say.
Don't they want the points?
FaZe? Why?
Because what are the... I've been obsessed with the mid part of the standings. I've barely looked at the top, dude. Spoken like a true Minnesota fan. Just Minnesota sports in general, not RØKKR specifically. But yeah, don't you at the end of the day, yes, these
So you know what? You're right. FaZe is up 5 points.
Yes, they want to maintain that.
Yeah, you're right. They don't even have... Optic has the highest map win percentage in the league. They're 55-24, while FaZe is 56-34.
Wow,
so
they are really
they've lost
matched.
10 more games. So Optic is really in a great. Oh yeah, you can see right here on the screen. Optic is in a
Yeah.
really good position. I will say though, mind games are now coming into the CDL where if you can't look at a previous match and how they played you, you really can't coach to it. It makes it really hard. Because if Proloot isn't on the roster the next time they play at the LAN, then it's like, well, we can't judge them on how Proloot played, you know? And so if I'm Crowder, I might play this game with Rambo Ray. That's an interesting shout out from Will. On that last match, that'll if I'll give you 10 of my points, Will. You can have an honorary 10 points with an asterisk on the
Nice. Let's go,
predictions.
Will.
if
Shannon,
that happens.
Shannon, I'm so far ahead. You could have 20 of my points. I'm so sorry. I had to, bro.
New York, I'm agreeing with you. I think NYSW is on a. This is the New York of like the very beginning of this year. I think they were frying. They were like one of the best hardpoint teams. And I think they're gonna stay on that. I think they're gonna beat Ultra 3-1.
Hell yeah. Let's go, man. I love doing predictions. I love seeing how they turn out. Let's, to see how things have turned out, let's maybe take a look at the standings here. My favorite part of the show every week, and I know it looks like a lot, but I'll summarize it for you. I am in first. I'm just going massive on the main stage here. Major 3 points. Major 3 points, Icon 35, MiDNiTE 50, Kingdom 40. Fortunately, Icon did miss the first prediction there of this past weekend, but that's okay. We've got total points for the whole year. Icon 305, Mr. 305. MiDNiTE, me 365 every single day, baby. Kingdom 300. This is Sparta. Let's go, bro. It's
I'm
crazy.
coming for
Honestly,
Icon.
With some predictions and some upsets and all of the matches we have left, you guys could still catch up.
Well, me and you predicted a lot of opposite matches today.
Yeah, we were
we
kind
had
of
at
on
least
the
5
same
of them
wavelength.
that were like,
yeah, we had the same wavelength last week, but this week there's some differences. So we're gonna start to see some shifts. We're gonna start to see me just pull way ahead. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's possible. I'm gonna cry like last year.
Bro, I need a trophy or something. Shannon, I thought I was getting a belt. Where's it at? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get into some fan questions here to close out the show. Shout out to everybody watching here on YouTube. Shout out on Twitter Spaces if you're listening, and shout out on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever else. I think we put this onto like one of those, services that puts the podcast anywhere that you can get podcasts. So shout out to wherever you're listening, even the aliens. All right, Andrew, Jack Frost Forever with a fan queue. His question is, what was everyone's reaction to that crazy overtime in Control? And of course, Attach dropping 47 in Control. My reaction was pure hype. I think for me, it's about knowing that these guys, when the going is tough, they're able to turn it around and have big performances like that and take a big step like we watched them do this past weekend. And so I just viewed the absolute hype end of the Control as a solidification of them being able to rise to the occasion and get the freaking dub. Also, I think this was this way last season. Attach, and it's not that he hasn't been good this season so far at all. He's very, very good. I'd argue probably like the best player on RØKKR statistically even this year. But even last year, like Attach came out frying, and he was just a game changer. So when Attach is playing that way, and the other players are playing at their best and everyone's firing on all cylinders, you're going to get the best version of RØKKR. And so I just felt like that win right there was solidification of that. Sometimes you just gotta clutch up. Kingdom, what was your reaction? Were you like, how do you watch matches? Do you like throw popcorn in your mouth and you scream when stuff happens?
It's like,
what do you do?
I mean, on the weekends, I've normally got family and stuff, so I'm literally like watching on my phone a lot.
You're like sneaking, and
one
then you get
AirPod
hype
in my
and
ear.
you're like,
yeah, and then I'm like, oh, no. So I'll be blatantly honest with you. There was a moment like that where I was in the kitchen and I was like, I was like shocked, it's like, what the heck? And it was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, oh, Call of Duty. I was like, I picked up my phone. I was like, I'm watching COD.
but COD is life.
I mean, it is. If I lived in like a crazy world, I'd watch it on the big screen and we just hear, little gunfire everywhere. But it's like, honestly, that control was bananas, period. There was a lot of chances for the RØKKR not to win. And the way it was so unpredictable, and it was down to the last second. It was like, no lives and no lives. And it was just like, I really, I was watching Kenny's body language, towards the end. And it was kind of like when they had him on camera. And I just feel like there's something missing from that LAT team. Like, they laugh and they get happy when they take L's, which is weird to me. But during the match, they're kind of like he looked just like, and he's calling out and just like sitting there. And it was just kind of like, that's too hype of a moment. And like, I like how they freeze framed Havok when they won, and he's just, screaming out of his mind. And that's the kind of matches you want to see. I remember the casters talking about, like, can this control last longer? And one of them was like, I want to see Attach's 4-piece from his perspective. And the other caster was like, they lost that round. And it was like, so what? Like, that was a crazy play. Like, all in all, that was one of the best controls of the year. Like, it was amazing. And Attach with an almost 50 bomb, ridiculous.
Absolutely nutty. Absolutely crazy. Love it. From the in the chat said, loved watching the control. So scrappy and edge of your seat action. For sure, dude. For sure. Thank you, Andrew, for the question. Let's move on to one more here. We have got Nate. What's up, Nate? From Twitter. Is Call of Duty at the level to incorporate organizational-based pay incentives for wins to their team, or is it tied directly to major/tourney earnings? Bounty Week has me thinking match-based incentives make for the short-term gratification. And so obviously a lot of these online matches, qualification matches, you're playing for the points, you're playing for the seeding. And then the major is when you play for the larger prize purses. Obviously, the organizations pay and take care of these players, right? Like, they make sure that they're in a great spot, right? And so to me, I read this as like, I thought when I first saw this question from Nate, that I thought of, some of the comp things and bonuses that you see in like an NFL player's contract. Like, if you show up to this mini camp or workout, then you get this bonus. If you get 20 sacks this season, you get this bonus. If you throw for a bajillion yards, you get an extra $2 or whatever it is. And so this question kind of got me thinking of that. And I don't think it's happening now. I honestly don't know, but I don't think so. But I wonder, like, what this could lead to. It could be good, but it also could be very bad depending on what the incentives are, especially if you're trying to achieve something solo, right? Like, let's say you're trying to get like this whatever KD, then that would make you play differently, right? You wouldn't want that. So I think it would need to be team-based. But anyway, I'd love to know, Kingdom, what are your thoughts on this this question from Nate?
It's an interesting question for Call of Duty, to be blatantly honest. Like, I've when I learned that NFL players get like bonuses for every playoff game, if you make it to the Super Bowl, you get a bonus. Just like getting your team to the farthest they can go. It would be interesting if it was like, hey, if you place top 4, we'll give you a little bonus. It's like a couple grand or something.
Yeah.
If you win a tournament, we'll give you a 5K bonus. I don't know, that's a lot of money, but it's like, honestly, why not because when you win an event, and this because you guys won last year, when you win an event, you kind of lead the media for a couple of days. Like, you're what everybody wants to see. And if you have a series that everybody's going to watch, like where you're talking about like what happened, everybody's like, oh, I can't wait to see that one every time somebody wins an event, and so I feel like it's helping your org get eyeballs. It's helping your org have bigger watch parties. It's helping your org fill up a stadium if they have a local event. I think those things do matter. And I think there's a world where it would make sense, where it's like, but you think about it, if you're FaZe, it's like, hey, place top 2 and we'll give you a bonus. It's like, okay, we're going to bonus every freaking land we go to, except for the last one. But it's like, I think this is possible. And I think it's something that could happen. I just don't know what it would look like. I like the Bounty Week stuff. But I think if the RØKKR came to the players and said, hey, look, if we start in winner's bracket at the next major, we'll give you a bonus. if you make it to the winners finals, we'll give you a bonus, something like that. Like, I don't know if that would be a buzzkill or if it would be encouraging. It depends on the player, I think. So I don't know. I don't know if it's happening. I'm like you. I have no idea. There's maybe a world where Hex is like, oh yeah, I've been paying Scump to get to the grand finals for 8 years. Who knows?
Well,
But
yeah, that's what I wonder. So I do think like there's an interesting pressure that would happen. Then I think, like, to answer the question, I do think that CDL is not at that level yet. I do think it could get there. The more widespread it has, the more intricate these contracts do get. Keep in mind, these contracts and everything need to be approved through the league, and also there is I don't want to call it a salary cap, but there is a certain amount of money that organizations can spend on their players, and if they go above that, then there's a luxury tax, right? That actually goes to the rest of the teams. And so I would assume that this could in some way factor into that, because otherwise, if you some of your most fruitful organizations, Optic, for example, and they're just like, yeah, give you 500K if you make, or that's a ridiculous number, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an Optic chain if you make it in the winners bracket.
Dude,
like,
let me tell you, I would grind for that chain.
Yeah, I mean, technically, like, it's not a pay-based incentive, but you just saw HØKKR give, the Call of Duty roster some chains. He said it was for winning, but then he gave chains to a bunch of the Optic members. So I'm unclear on he's just getting chains for everybody. But yeah, it's, I don't know, man. I think that if you were to do it for individuals, it could get dicey quick and not in a good way. But I also don't see any harm in incentivizing a team further. I would wonder how it would work per the league's rules and how that would evolve over time. But long story long, my opinion, I think it could happen. I don't know if it should happen. It would heavily depend on how it's monitored and, what you could do with it. But I love the thought, because Bounty Week does kind of make you think of it. I do kind of like that they're adding extra incentives for, the viewers to kind of get a little more involved. And I wonder what the players think of it. Like, it'd
be interesting if there was a personal content incentive, like, remember old school Optic where Hex wanted everybody to do content, like Killa was like, not doing it. It's like, and then when he did, we all laughed and had fun, and it was freaking entertainment and comedy. But like, maybe there's a, like, hey, if you put out, 5 pieces of personal content, we'll give you, I don't know, $500, $1,000. So even if you're not going to make a whole bunch of YouTube money as you grow it, we're going to pay you. Like, I don't know if that benefits an org these days. You're head of content, you'd probably know better than me, but like, I think there's an idea here that could be just, explored by teams and general managers.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if this is the exact verbiage you use, but when you said players get to do content, that's not often how it's seen. They're like, I gotta do this. I want to get more players that are like, let's do content, but it's tough, man. Unless you're doing, I mean, hey, we try to make it easy. We took Looney and attached shoe shopping. Oh, woe is me. No, I'm just kidding. They're great. Our players are great for it. I think in general it's tough to get.
Their stuff has been funny, like drawing the logo and all that. Like, you guys' stuff has been good. Like, I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it reminds me of, throwback Optic stuff, and not because it's the same, but it's like that spirit of like just doing collaborative content as a team.
Yeah, well, and shout out to our whole team here, right, that works on that and shoots those videos and conceptualizes everything. We've got a great squad over here at RØKKR and Version 1. If you guys don't know, Version 1, the parent org to Minnesota RØKKR. We have a Rocket League team. Yeah, there we go, Kingdom. We got a Valorant team, we got a female Valorant team. We're doing it, man. Alrighty, final thoughts here, Kingdom. I know we went over as always, but hey, what can you do? Listen, we got stuff to talk about. We got thoughts. My final thoughts are, let's freaking keep the momentum going, baby. It's time. 100%. It's time to keep it moving, keep it thumping, keep it rockering. I think this is not to like put crazy pressure out into the universe, but this is the most important weekend in the Stage 3 qualification matches. For us, for points, and I think for qualifying for the winners bracket of Major 3 LAN. So, final thought, Kingdom. Anything to take us out here?
I would say the RØKKR proved this weekend that they have the potential to fry and be one of the top teams in this league, and all they have to do is keep it up. They are hard to beat when they're playing like that. Very hard. They didn't even drop a map. And so I don't know if this weekend will be the same as that, but it's a great opportunity for the RØKKR, for the Minnesota RØKKR, to solidify themselves in that winners bracket, like you said. And that's kind of what we want to see happen.
Let's go, boys. Give me another easy 6-0 weekend. That would be nice. I don't know if it's possible, but we'll see. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you're on the YouTube right now, make sure to subscribe, hit like. If you're on Twitter Spaces, tweet out what you had for breakfast and tag me. If you're listening after the fact on a podcast platform, we got much love for you. I hope you're enjoying whatever you're doing during your day here. And yeah, that's it, baby. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, 7:30 Central on the RØKKR YouTube or any of the other places I just listed. And that's it. Oh, shout out to the producers, producer Will, producer Shannon, Vibes, gang. Okay.
Shout out Icon.
Shout out Icon. We miss you, Icon. We miss you.